What did they serve you guys for lunch? That's I want some of that. Thank you very, very much for that wonderful welcome. And let me welcome you right back. Bienvenue à tous et à chacun de vous à Edmonton, en Alberta. Edmonton, a city which is 100% represented in our provincial legislature by Alberta New Democrats. Edmonton, the capital of Alberta, which is under new management. Welcome to Alberta, where the CCF was founded. And welcome to Alberta, where last spring our party ended 43 years of Conservative rule. And welcome to Alberta, where we're hard at work each and every day to show that average, regular people do better under NDP government that puts people first. You know, friends, like every branch of our party, at every level, we've had our ups and our downs over the years. Je sais que beaucoup d'entre vous sont ici aujourd'hui en partie pour tirer les leçons de la récente élection fédérale, même avec l'engagement et le travail acharné de notre chef fédéral, Tom Mulcair. And my heart also goes out to my fellow Prairie New Democrats who worked so hard on the recent Saskatchewan campaign, also led with commitment and hard work by our Saskatchewan leader, Cam Broughton. Speaking as an Alberta New Democrat, let me say this with feeling and with sincerity. We've been there too, often. I think about the countless elections where my dad worked tirelessly, only to win by the slimmest of margins, continuing his journey as the lone NDPer standing up for Albertans in a sea of Conservatives. You know, I watched the apex of his career when he finally managed to bring Ray Martin into the legislature beside him. His caucus, they would joke, with a margin of less than 50 votes. I think about, quite frankly, the 1993 election in Alberta, and some of you who know me really closely know that I think about that a lot. In that election, the Alberta NDP was literally wiped off the map, defeated in every provincial seat in this province. We were completely written off by some, written off out of any kind of political future in this province. But my friends, we never gave up. We never accepted that our opponents had won forever. We never stopped believing in ourselves. We never stopped working, not only for seats, but we never stopped working to be government. So I stand before you as an Alberta New Democrat who knows well that we have built on the work of generations of party leaders and party members and party builders who also never give up. Party builders like Chester Ronning, the first leader of the CCF here in Alberta, and Elmer Roper, who contested 4 elections and won us our first seats as a party, and Floyd Johnson, and Neil Reimer, and my dad, and Ray Martin, and Ross Harvey, and Pam Barrett, and Raj Panu, who many of you know, raged against the machine. And of course, my predecessor, Brian Mason. In the course of his 10 years as leader of our party, Brian laid the foundation for May 5th, 2015, so it's only right that he now serves as the Minister of Infrastructure in our government. So I stand before you as an Alberta New Democrat who has worked alongside of many of you for years. And I also stand before you as the Premier of this province. Because, my friends, we kept faith. We kept faith with the principles and the values of those leaders and all the thousands of members who worked for all those years to build our party here in Alberta and to keep its light shining. And we carried their principles into our campaign, and we carried those principles and those values right into office. And friends, if we can do that here in Alberta, then it is possible in every province and every territory in Canada, and it is going to happen in a federal election. So I want to speak to you today about three things. First, I'd like to say a few words about our Conservative opponents, and then a few additional words about what I believe or what I see as our party's principles and our values. And then I want to conclude with a few specific thoughts that I'd like to share with some of those of you who have come to this great convention from other parts of the country. Now, on that first topic, it's a bit of a tradition in my family and certainly in our party here in Alberta to study Conservatives closely. You know, after 43 years, you could see why that might be the case. So my father, Grant Notley, for example, had some very serious differences with the progressive Conservative Premier of his day. But compared to what followed, you have to give Peter Lougheed credit for significant foresight. Peter Lougheed urged Albertans to act like owners of our own natural resources. He pursued a vision of a diversified and resilient economy, and he laid the foundation for many of the social services we enjoy in Alberta today. Now, I didn't agree with Premier Lougheed's party politics all the time, or with most of his decisions, but I do believe that he was always fundamentally honest with voters. But let me offer you what I think might be a little bit of an understatement. I would suggest this, that today's Conservatives are a very different proposition, at least in this province. Today's Conservatives don't dare run on what they really believe in. And you know, in a way, I kind of sympathize with them, because what do they have to work with, really? They want to fire nurses and teachers and make pay and working conditions worse for those who remain. They want to impose mean-spirited and self-defeating conditions on the poor when they need a hand up, and they want to ignore them otherwise. They want to invest more and more into the only social program that it seems they do support, prisons. And they want to privatize public services, because social services can't benefit from diverting 10 or 20% of the budget to insiders, shareholders, and senior managers. There are no forests they don't want to cut. There are no streams they don't want to foul. There is nothing sacred or important about our climate or our land or our water. Or at least there is nothing that we should be doing, they believe, to protect any of these things, since every environmental measure is always opposed by today's Conservatives, while also, in many cases, denying the science or trying to muzzle the scientists. And then there is that great and almost historically unprecedented reverse Robin Hood theft that today's Conservatives are all about. Their big idea that every possible benefit and every support for families, for the poor, for the middle class must be cut to the bone to pay for tax cuts for rich people, leading to the grotesque levels of inequality that we see sometimes growing around us today with all its social and economic consequences. So if today's Conservatives were being honest about what they really stood for, I don't think that too many people would vote for them. So since they can't campaign on what they really want to do, what do? Well, we got to look at that in the federal election. They make the issue what women are allowed to wear. They make the issue cracking down on fellow citizens if they are from other countries or if they profess non-Christian faiths or if they came here as refugees trying to escape persecution and terror. Our Conservative opponents made the issue the personal destruction of their opponents. They make the issue how many donuts got ordered and how much got spent on coffee. They hide behind focus group slogans like, quote, "We're all about the economy," as if making most people poorer and worse off is good for the economy. Anything, as long as it isn't a debate about what they really stand for and what they really want to do. But every once in a while, the mask slips and we see their real face, like Donald Trump, for instance, the real face of North American populist conservatism with the mask off. Along with the little failed Donald Trump mini-me's who pop up in Canada every now and then. So, my friends, let me be very, very clear. There are many good people in Conservative parties. You know, I've lived in Alberta for a long time, and I know many, many of them. There are some admirable roots in Canada's long tradition of progressive conservatism, and maybe at some point our blue friends will find their way back to those roots. But based on what the Conservatives put before the people of Canada in the most recent federal election, and based on the angry, raging, talk about anything but what we'd actually do performance that we get from our Conservative oppositions here in Alberta, I'd say our Conservative friends, at least in this province, are going to try everything else first, which is why they so richly deserve defeat. So friends, but what about us? Let's just talk a little bit about us. It's not all about us, but it's our convention, so it's a bit about us. I'm not here today to point to the Alberta NDP as the answer to every question facing our broader party and our broader movement. We have our challenges, and we've made mistakes, and we still have much to learn and much to improve, and that will always be true. But I will say this. As my good friend Jack Layton liked to say, in almost any and every situation, we're making progress. And I'm very, very pleased and excited to spend just a little bit of time giving you a few examples of that progress. We promised during the most recent provincial election that we would abolish a disgraceful and regressive flat tax system here in Alberta. A system that was so bad that not a single Conservative government in any other jurisdiction in Canada ever copied it. A system that was going to be made worse with a regressive flat tax health premium. So we won the election, and then we abolished the flat tax in Alberta. And we brought in normal Canadian progressive income taxes, a normal system that finally asked the richest among us to pay something closer to their fair share. And we promised as well during the Alberta election that we would get big money out of politics. And so Bill 1, the first piece of legislation introduced by our government, limited political donations to individuals and only to individuals, because politics in Alberta is no longer for sale. We promised we would protect healthcare and education and stabilize funding for important services. In our first budget, we rolled back a $1.5 billion proposed cut to healthcare and education that had been put forward by Conservative predecessors. Friends, healthcare and education are safe in our hands. We said we would work towards equality between men and women and more diversity overall. And we made Alberta history by electing 3 open members of the LGBTQ community to our legislature. And then Minister Miranda went on to chalk up another first when he was appointed to cabinet. And then, speaking of cabinet, we made history when we appointed the first cabinet that consisted of a majority of women. And my friends, we did it again because 2 of those women were pregnant, and last month Minister McLean made history when she gave birth to baby Patrick. And in August, Minister Payne will do her part for equity by delivering a baby girl. It's hard to describe how a cabinet meeting is changed by passing around a baby amongst ministers. Suffice to say, not only are we all just a bit more agreeable, it helps keep us focused on who it is we're here for. Now, another thing we talked about in the legislature or in the election a lot was we said that it wasn't right for people to go to work full-time, or sometimes way over full-time, and still have to stop at the food bank on their way home to feed their families. So we made a commitment that is about decency and fairness. We committed to a $15 minimum wage in this term of office, and we are going to keep that commitment. We promised we would invest in jobs and diversification. And over the past 8 months, we've introduced one of the most far-reaching job creation and diversification plans anywhere in Canada. A $34 billion infrastructure plan, a $1.5 billion given to our publicly owned bank, just remember that, Alberta, publicly owned bank, to promote small and medium-sized business lending, a $500 million mandate to AIMCO to invest in the economy, and a $500 million energy diversification and upgrading program. And we will have some important further measures to announce in our provincial budget next week, in just a few days. So we're putting good jobs for ordinary working families first, as we promised during the campaign, that would address, so we're putting those first, and then, as we promised during the campaign, we would address Albertans' environmental policies. So we did. So we got elected, and we put together an expert panel to review the issues, and 6 months later, we acted. We introduced Alberta's Climate Leadership Plan, the single most important step that any Canadian government at any level has taken so far to actually act on climate change. Alberta's Climate Leadership Plan is a cornerstone investment in building a greener and more efficient, more competitive, and more diversified economy. We are phasing out coal. We are implementing an economy-wide carbon levy. We are implementing an oil sands emission cap. We are implementing a world-leading methane reduction plan, and we will introduce a far-reaching job-creating energy efficiency plan here in Alberta. Climate change is one of the world's greatest problems, and this province, led by this party, is going to be a real part of the solution. We are also, my friends, implementing this plan because, quite frankly, it will be good for the economy of Alberta. It is about moving to a cleaner, greener, more energy efficient, more diversified, more value-added economy. And we are not making a choice between the environment and the economy. We are building the economy. So these are all issues that we care passionately about and have worked passionately on during the first 11 months in office. And you know what else we care passionately about? Speaking as a lifelong, unapologetic New Democrat, we care about working people, regular families, people who work to put food on the table and get their kids to soccer and save retirement and care for their parents. We care about those people, the very people who make up the over 60,000 Albertans who have lost their jobs in the last year because of the collapse of oil prices worldwide. I'm an unapologetic New Democrat. I care about working people, about building economic security, shared prosperity, a bright future for our children. We all care about that. And we're not just talking about it. We're acting. We're really acting on the basis of a concrete plan that is actually being implemented. That is what you get to do when you move up from manifesto to the detailed, principled, practical plans you can really implement by winning an election. That's how we remain true to the principles and values of our party and of our pioneers. The NDP isn't a do-nothing party, one way or another. Other parties do nothing way better than we ever could. We are condemned to be ourselves. We're the do-something party, the fundamental reformers, the change agents, the people who believe that if we act together, things will get better. And I think that we're off to a pretty good start doing exactly that, 11 short months into our mandate here in the province of Alberta. Friends, the mandate we were given by the people of Alberta is a trust we are working to earn each and every day. And let me be clear, I am certainly not doing this alone, not by a long shot. So let me just take a brief moment to introduce to you our team. And let me begin by asking all of Alberta's cabinet ministers and MLAs to stand up. May I introduce to you the Cabinet and the Government Caucus of the NDP government in Alberta. Now let me ask, if I can just ask every other Alberta delegate present here today to stand up and join our elected team. Because friends, may I introduce to you the committed New Democrats who never gave up, who never stopped believing in our cause, who never stopped working in urban, suburban, rural, northern, southern seats right across this province to elect Alberta's first NDP government. Thank you guys all so much for your work. And by the way, get ready to do a lot more. We'll be talking about some of that at our convention in June. So, just get ready. So, don't say I didn't warn you. And now, let me conclude with a few specific words to those of you from other parts of Canada with a request. 2 days ago, I went on province-wide television to speak to all Albertans about the economic challenges that we face today as a province. Alberta is managing a major commodity price crash. I set out the numbers: a 2/3 drop in the price of oil, an almost complete collapse in provincial royalty revenues, a significant increase in unemployment, and a significant increase in our province's deficit. I spoke to Albertans about the values that we're bringing to these challenges and how we're going to pull together, as we always do in Alberta, to overcome them. I've given you a flavor of it today. We're going to protect our core public services, understanding the key role they play in supporting Albertans and building our future. We're going to invest in our economy to create jobs and to diversify our economy. And we're going to manage our public finances prudently and responsibly, without panicked measures that just make things worse. Albertans are an enterprising and cooperative people. If those of you haven't noticed that yet amongst them, I urge you to go out and talk to a few. They're really fun. And we've faced challenges many times before and know what to do about them. We make a plan, and then we get at it. Now, we'll be dealing with it or detailing the plan in our budget in a few days from now. Albertans are proud Canadians who have made a major contribution to the prosperity of this country, and also to the web of national social programs that tie us together as Canadians. And Albertans also did something a little evil to all of you from our fellow provinces and territories. In electing a progressive NDP government last spring, the people of Alberta took away one of some of our favorite enemies. There's no climate change denying, science muzzling, regressive Tory government here anymore in Alberta. So it is time to start thinking more charitably about Alberta and the 4.4 million fellow Canadians who live here. And here's specifically what I'm asking from you. I'm asking you to always remember that hundreds of thousands of Canadians work in resource industries here and across Canada. I'm asking you to leave here more persuaded than perhaps some of us have been that it is possible for Canada to have a forest industry, to have an agriculture industry, a mining industry, and yes, an energy industry, while being world leaders on the environment. That, my friends, means taking a second look at issues that matter, that matter to forestry workers, to farmers, to miners, and to energy workers. Those are the people who vote for our party in most of this country. Alberta today is a landlocked province with one customer, the United States. We need to be able to get the best possible world price for the oil we produce here at the level of production that will be responsibly allowed under a climate change plan that is focused, finally, on effectively reducing the amount of carbon in each barrel of oil. And the way to do that is through pipelines to Tidewater that allows us to diversify our markets and upgrade our products here in Canada. Pipelines that are built by Canadians using Canadian steel, and pipelines that support the national goal of being a smart, sophisticated, progressive energy producer on the international stage, even as we use that prosperity from that endeavor to carefully reposition our economy and the working people within it to a more diversified, a greener future, and a more prosperous future. Now, there are voices in our party who want to wave all this away and give those Conservatives that I was talking about earlier exactly what they need to return to office and to carry on with their agenda. Progressive parties of government don't let that happen. And being a progressive party of government is exactly what the CCF NDP is all about and always has been. We have a proud, admirable, and progressive tradition of government with deep roots right here in the Canadian prairies, founded by our first elected Premier, Tommy Douglas. He was never satisfied with just talking about issues. He wanted to make a real difference by taking government away from the right and all that they represent and by putting it at the service of people instead. And my friends, after a tough defeat, it's always a bit tempting to hide a bit in slogans and dreams. And slogans and dreams have a place, they do. But sometimes they can also turn into a way of giving up. And I want to say this to you. New Democrats never give up. We never give up. We never give up, so Canada has public Medicare, has public pensions, has union rights, and has many other things that matter a lot and change the lives of working people each and every day. We never give up, and that's why Canada is going to lead on climate change, led by Alberta. And we never give up, and that's why the day will come when this country throws away the many years of bad decisions by Liberals and Conservatives and gets on the road to real economic equality. When we lose, we will pick ourselves up. When we win, we will work to deserve to win. We will keep faith with our founders and our pioneers. We will keep faith with our values and our principles, and we will keep faith with the progressive majority that exists across this country. As a good friend of ours said in his last days, Canada is a great country, one of the hopes of the world. We can be a better one, a country of greater equality, justice, and opportunity. That's what our party fights for here in Alberta and right across Canada. Take it from an Alberta New Democrat. We never give up. Thank you.